5.2 is all about solving quadratic equations, people. And by the end of this lesson, I so hope that you can solve quadratic equations by taking square roots and using the Pythagorean theorem to solve problems involving right triangles. That's what my goal is by the end of this. That's what your goal should be too. Let's get started. So the question that I first want to pose to you is, can you solve a quadratic equation of the form x squared equals a? And they don't always look this simple, like x squared equals a number, but they're of this form because you can get them to be that way, guys. And so here's the first step. Get this 2. This 2 should be a square. Get the square. Here, let's make a box. Get the square by itself. That's our first step. And step 2 is square root. Take the square root, but don't forget there's a plus or minus, and secondly, solve both equations, because you're going to get 2 answers for the most part when you're doing these type of problems right here, because you take the square root. And let me explain why. Check this out. Let's say you have x squared is equal to 9, and you're going to solve this. Okay, your question you're asking is, what can I put in for this x to square it to get 9? Well, you can put 2 things in there. Check this out. 3 squared is equal to 9. But also negative 3 squared, if you put in your calculator with parentheses, right, is also equal to 9, because negative times negative is positive. And that's why we need the plus or minus there, because there's 2 answers for when you take the square root. So I got right now 1, 2, 3 problems that I'm going to show you how to do right here. So let's start by solving 4x squared plus 13 is equal to 253. First step, get the square by itself, okay? This situation, the x squared is the square. We're not going to get it by itself, so we're going to use the railroad track method. I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. So I got 4x squared is equal to 240. Now I'm going to still don't have the square by itself, so I'm going to divide everything by 4. And so now I have x squared is equal to 240 divided by 4 is 60. Okay? Let's make sure I did this right. And you're going to subtract that, you're going to 240, divide by that. Yep, okay. Now, once you get the x squared by itself, and we can see that the x squared is by itself, you need to take the square root, and you're going to have a positive or negative value. So, we're going to take the square root of both sides. I'll do that in red, so it stands out. Take the square root. And so what you get, this is what you get, guys. You get x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 60. Right there. There's your solution. Solve both equations. You don't really have to do any solving after this. I don't know why I have this third step. Maybe we'll come out in a different part. But you got 2 solutions. You got plus the square root of 60 or positive square root of 60, and negative square root of 60 are your solutions to this equation right there. Okay? Oh, I know why we needed this. I'll show you. We'll need it for this one right here. Check this out. Okay. So, same situation. We want to get the square by itself. In this situation, this is your square. This whole thing is being squared. Not the 9, but this whole thing right here. So we want to get it by itself. So how would we do that? Railroad track method. We're going to divide both sides by 9. Okay. Now this is a tricky one. Watch what I do here. Are you seeing this? I get x minus 2 squared is equal to 121 divided by 9. Now, I can tell you, I can promise you something. These don't simplify, really. Maybe is 121 divisible by 3? No, it's not. So this is as good as it gets right there. So now what we need to do is we need to take the square root. So we're going to take the square root, this time in purple. When we take the square root and the square cancel off, and we get x minus 2, that's all that's left here, is equal to plus or minus the square root of 121 over 9. Okay. Okay. Now, bear with me here. The square root of 121, you guys know what the square root of 121 is? Well, you got to ask yourself, what times what is 121? This situation, 11 times 11 is 121. Okay? And what times what is 9? What times itself is 9? Well, 3. So plus or minus the square root of 121 over 9 is actually equal to plus or minus 11 over 3. Isn't that crazy? Okay. So what we have here, let's put it all together. I still have my x minus 2 is equal to 11 plus or minus 11 over 3. Okay. Now this is where we go to step 3. We need to solve both equations for it being positive and for it being negative. So really, we're going to be subtracting or adding 2 to both sides, and so our final solution will be x is equal to plus or minus 11 over 3 plus 2. That's your solution. Okay? That's both your positive and your negative solution right there. Okay? You just set it up like that. Let's give it one more shot. One more try right here. Okay, this one might be even a little bit easier, and you'll see why in a little bit. So we want to solve this. We got 4s squared plus 7 minus 9 is equal to 39, and we want to get this s squared by itself. So we'll start by doing a little railroad track work. Let's add 9 to both sides. Add 9. So I got 4s squared plus 7 is equal to 39 plus 9 is 48. And we'll divide everything by 4. By 4. That cancels that off here, so I have x squared plus 7 is equal to 48 divided by 4 is 12. Okay, now we'll subtract 7. That was a 7 on the inside of the parentheses. When we do that, I got s squared is equal to 12 minus 7, which is 5. Last step is take the square root of both sides. I like to do that in different color. And so I got s is equal to plus or minus the square root of 5. This situation, there's no more solving that needs to be done. We don't have to do this last part right here, solve both the equations. So we are done with this one. Box it. Sorry, my s's look like 5s, don't they? I know what you're all saying, that this totally looks like that. But this is my s and this is my 5. I'll try to make it stand out a little bit more there. Okay, so hopefully these 3 examples will give you enough information that you can use to solve quadratic equations of this form.